Hey, everybody. I'm here with Ron Placone, hilarious comedian. Hey, Ron, how are you?
Hey, Jimmy. How's it going?
Good to see you. Hank Thompson's here also. Hey, Hank.
Hey, it's me.
Yay, all right. Also, so we've talked about the Kaepernick story. Turns out a lot of people, Kaepernick, God bless him. He's got guts. He stood up. He knew he was going to get pushback. And a lot of sellouts, even black sellouts like Larry Elder, said, shut up. Hey, you have the freedom to say exactly what we want you to say. Now, shut up. Go be free and do what we want. So Charles Woodson, great football player, Heisman Trophy winner, NFL star. He had, I'm going to play this. It's maybe about a minute or 2 minutes long. It's really worth it. And listen to what he has to say because this guy breaks it down perfectly. Here we go.
You know, this being 9/11 and watching some of the players, current players, talk about 9/11 and where they were, you know, that day. I remember exactly where I was that day. I was at home. And remember, you know, getting a phone call and somebody saying, turn on the TV. You know, somebody just flew a plane into, you know, the World Trade Center. And having been there, knowing how massive that building was, I'm thinking to myself, oh, you know, somebody probably flew a crop duster into that building. That's not going to affect it. You know, you turn the TV on, and all of a sudden you see these planes, you know, flying into these buildings, and then all of a sudden these buildings, you know, collapsing. And then you find out what it was behind. And so now you're thinking in your mind, how could someone feel, how could they wrap their minds around killing innocent people for really no reason other than how you think or how you live your life, right? And so then I correlate that to Colin Kaepernick and his issue with the flag in America and where we are right now. And I think his question is, how is it that black people can be treated a certain way because of how they look, the color of their skin, how dark it is or how dark it isn't? And so I understand his point, and to Randy's point, I get what he's saying, this justice for all. You know, if you asked me 3 weeks ago, you know, what's one of the things I'm going to miss about playing the game of football? And I would tell people that, man, standing up there on that sideline and singing that national anthem, the flag is up and the whole nine, that was one of the great joys of my life, right? And so then what happens is when you have these protests, you start looking at different things. And then you go back and you look at the author of the national anthem, right? This guy, he had slaves. You know, you look at Francis Scott Key, he was a slave owner. So now, as I'm thinking about the national anthem, and I hear that line for the, you know, land of the free, he wasn't talking about me. Mm-hmm. You know, he wasn't talking about Randy. So when we talk about Colin Kaepernick and the stand that he's taking, he's saying, look, let there be justice for all of us, including me and Randy, including all of you on this set today. So I actually applaud him for having the gall to stand up when he knew what kind of ridicule he was going to get, when most people would not do it, when he knew the backlash he was going to get. I see every time I turn on the TV, there's a conversation about Colin Kaepernick, and I think he went into it, he thought about it, and he said, you know what, I'm going to do this during the game. And another point Randy made is we talk about him protesting and being disrespectful. He didn't pull his shoulder pads off and run around the stadium and go grab, you know, some prop and run around and be disruptive. No, he sat down in peaceful protest. And if I was somebody, if I was in the military and I looked over there and I seen this young man protesting in peace, I would actually feel proud that as a military man, woman, that the freedoms that I go across these waters and fight for, that's it, exercise right there with this young man sitting down and doing it peacefully.
It's interesting we're having this discussion.
That's pretty powerful, I thought, you know, and only a black guy could really make those statements and have them have the land with the weight that they land, especially about, I never thought about the Star Spangled Banner being written by a slave owner. Did you ever think about that? Did you guys ever think about? I never thought about that. And there he is. He's got to get up and put his hand. And that song was written by a freaking slave owner. And those words weren't written for him.
And there was that verse that was omitted, too.
Yeah, what was the verse omitted?
Do you know? Well, I don't know all the words, but it hinted at, slavery being okay and stuff like that. And we're finally talking about it now.
And at slaves being killed.
That's what it was.
Like celebrating them to the grave or something. I'm not quoting it properly, so it deserves to be looked up. But yeah, it's the third paragraph. There's a whole bunch more to the song.
So we got the lyrics that people were talking about, and here are those lyrics. That third stanza that they don't play anymore or sing anymore from the national anthem. Correct? Here it is. It says, and where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more? Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save their hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I don't really understand that.
Yeah, it's like reading racist Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's like... I'm
like, I think that... But...
No refuge could save the hireling and slave. What's a hireling? So the hireling is the guy who hires the slave?
No, that's like a paid...
Oh, a paid someone who got hired?
Yeah, what we are nowadays. Like,
so a worker.
Yeah.
So no refuge could save the worker and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave.
So there's no safety for hirelings or slaves.
So the hirelings are just afraid, and the slaves, well, they're just going to go to the grave. That's
they're both hunted and put in the grave.
More or less.
This is from Snopes, and Snopes says, like so many of his compatriots, Francis Scott Key, the wealthy American lawyer who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner in the wake of the Battle of Fort McHenry on 14th of September, 1814, was a slaveholder who believed blacks to be a distinct and inferior race of people, which all experience proves to be the greatest evil that afflicts a community. Wow, that's pretty unbelievable.
You know what's interesting is that most songs, when they omit the verses, it's because there was more of a social conscious. Like, this land is your land. At the kindergarten graduation, they don't sing that last verse where he talks about, is this land really meant for you and me? They omit that verse.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they don't sing that verse typically. At my kindergarten graduation, we didn't sing that verse.
Going to a lot of kindergarten graduations, are you?
You know what? I'm an enthusiast.
It's a good weekend activity.
Snopes goes on, it goes without saying that Francis Scott Key did not have the enslaved black population of America in mind when he penned the words land of the free. It would be logical to assume that he might have harbored a special resentment toward African Americans who fought against the United States on behalf of the king. Can you imagine being a slave owner and fighting for England? You're screwed either way. Either way, they're both going to be your slave owner. The Constitution of the United States said you're 3/5 of an American, right? Or 3/5?
3/5, yeah. Now they're 5/5.
Now they're 5/5 on paper.
Yeah, on paper at least.
On paper, but still, if you get, but when pulled over, they're still not fully.
Yeah, I mean, this makes me. I'm never standing for the national anthem now, knowing this kind of stuff.
This kind of stuff.
You need hate in your heart to stand for the national anthem. I'm serious. I wouldn't celebrate this. This is an important context.
I always hated. By the way, the national anthem. I always thought "America the Beautiful" was a much better song. And why didn't they choose "America the Beautiful"? Well, this one is all about war and bombs and killing and what the f.
I think it should be "This Land Is Your Land," but we should sing all the verses. That's the one that I would like.
All right, I
think that's.
I'll take "This Land Is Your Land." I'll take "America." I never did like.
I'll
this
also
song.
take just not having to be forced into weird nationalism. I've always gotten the heebie-jeebies at this national.
The Pledge of Allegiance is weird. Even as a kid, I felt like, wait a minute. I felt like I was in a communist country because I was always told as a kid communism was still bad. We were told that they have to do and they have to pledge their allegiance. I'm like, no.
In high school, I befriended a German exchange student, and this is in the 90s, and he said that the Pledge of Allegiance was the creepiest thing. He said it was the most Nazi thing he's seen. Because they're super in America, because he was over here for a year.
Boy, do we sound like a bunch of lefties, huh?
Yeah. We should, because we're right. We're fucking right.
Well,
and the national anthem should be banned. I mean, look at this.
That's pretty.
I'm not
sometimes
kidding
when
around.
other people pointed out to you, like I had a similar occurrence. A friend of mine from Belgium, he came and he visited me. I was living in Pittsburgh at the time. He had never seen like older architecture in the U.S., so I was taking him around. I took him to a church, and he was baffled because there was a United States flag in the church, which is very common for one to be in the corner and stuff typically. And he was just like, "That's like not allowed,
right?
In a lot of countries, like you don't like do that. Like a place of worship and nationalism, like you just don't mix those." Too. And I'm like, well, we got our issues here.
Boy, we got our issues here, huh?
Big time. So I say to Colin Kaepernick, I'll sit right next to you, buddy. I usually am sitting on Sundays anyway.
Is it Kaepernick or
Kaepernick?
Kaepernick. I don't know.
Kaepernick.
We always keep saying it wrong on the show.
I've never said it wrong.
No, you always say it right. All right. Good on you, Woodson. Way to go. That was nice stuff.